Hey everyone, today we'll be showcasing the settlement phase of Lantia 1, which takes place right after the prologue showdown. So, on the last video we just took down the White Lion and finished distributing all the resources, and we're just about to start with the settlement phase, so let's take a seat at the table. Okay, the last thing I did was give out 100 XP to each survivor and distributed all the resources. None of them have any special effects, so I think we're good to head on to the settlement phase. So let's take a look. Settlement phase. Okay, the first thing we have to do is set up. I think for the initial setup we need to create a settlement. So it says during the settlement phase to place a settlement board in the play area. So in KDM Sim this is actually automated. So first thing we need to do is tear off a sheet. This is the settlement sheet where we'll be tracking all of our settlements information. First thing to do is name the settlement. So I guess I'll give the settlement a name of Lux. And it says when the settlement is named for the first time, returning survivors gain +1 survival. So returning survivors are any survivors that departed on the showdown, and that would include Urza, Zachary, Lucy, and Alistair. So I'll go ahead and give them all 1 survival. Okay. And then the next thing to do is we will set up by doing, okay, returning survivors gain 1 survival. They need to heal any existing light and heavy injuries and get rid of any tokens, so get rid of that. Everyone else is fine. Get rid of the token. I'll leave it over there. Step 3 is to gain endeavors and update the timeline. So each returning survivor generates 1 endeavor. I'm going to showcase how to automate this in the setup settlement phase. So you can right click on the settlement sheet and do not gather the resources. Okay, so as you can see that it automatically sets up the settlement phase with the 4 endeavors. You will gain 1 endeavor per returning survivor, which we have 4, so the 4 will be gained. Next would be doing the first settlement event. Extinguishing of a single lantern in the lantern horde happens regularly. This is our survivor's track time, and it's called a lantern year. So we're going to update the lantern year on our settlement sheet. We're now in lantern year 1. And how this works is you need to do a random settlement event every year, followed by any story events or settlement events that are tracked in order. But in the first year, the first settlement event will always be the first day. So let's go ahead and pull that out. And this would be step 4 under update timeline. So I'm going to look for first day. A bit. Okay, first day. The first day settlement event will help you set up your settlement. It is the first event of any new campaign. The survivors wander, drawn to a blooming light in the distance. They find the serene comfort of a towering pile of lanterns and a small collection of scared people. On a deep instinctual level, they know this area is safe and they make it their home. Roll 1d10 to determine your starting population and record the result on the back of a settlement record sheet. Choose and record genders for unnamed survivors. You may name an unnamed survivor and create the survivor record sheet in any time during the settlement phase. Okay, so let's roll 1d10. 3. Okay, so we hit the low roll, so we're going to be starting with 6 unnamed survivors plus the returning survivors. Okay, so let's go ahead and create 6 unnamed survivors. Be E to tear off a sheet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, cool. So you can name the unnamed survivor anytime during the settlement phase. Okay, so we won't name them for now. We will give them genders. Male. Female. Okay, cool. So once that's done, it says to return to the settlement section of the first story and proceed to returning survivors. The first day settlement event card will not be used again during this campaign. Do not include it in the settlement event deck. So that's it for this event. It's removed from the game now. So I'm going to send it to my inventory. Okay. So now we need to trigger the story events. On the settlement sheet, it says to perform returning survivors after first day. So we will go do that. Right click, go to contents. And we're looking for returning survivors. Alright. So this is the lantern horde that they've come across. Nominate a survivor to utter the first words. The nominated survivor steps forward and gains +1 courage. Okay, so let's nominate someone first. I'm gonna go ahead and nominate Zachary here. I'm gonna give him +1 courage. And if you would so like to, you could flip the sheet over and there's a section for notes. So I'm just gonna write in the back that he's uttered the first words. Okay. They lead the other survivors in learning to speak to one another. They discuss the situation, realizing they must hunt to live. Add the white line to the quarry list on the settlement record sheet. Your settlement gains the language innovation. Search the innovation cards for language and place it face up in your play area, and record it on your settlement sheet. Language is your first innovation and it will spark the creation of the innovation deck. Okay? So we need to gain the language innovation. I'm just going to read this next part. It says after gaining language, you need to build the innovation deck, which represents the potential cultural and technological growth of your settlement. It will grow throughout the campaign as you gain new innovations. Okay, find the 6 innovation cards with language consequence listed under the title, D6, and then shuffle them together to create the innovation deck. Place it face down on the designated space on the settlement board. This deck is persistent, and it's preserved throughout the gameplay session. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Normally you would go into the box, search for the innovations, which would be here. You would grab them out, search through all of them and look for language, but if using the auto setup, it will automatically pull language out for you, which is the first innovation. So, every innovation has some keywords, which will show its consequences and tags. Language gives you +1 survival limit, and all survivors gain the encouraged survival action, which is once per round, if standing, spend 1 survival to call out to a non-deaf survivor. They stand if knocked down. Okay? And at the bottom it tells you to add language consequences. So that would be these cards. You can see that they have language consequence. And every time you innovate, you add more consequences to build up the deck. So for now, let's go ahead and add that survival limit. We now have 2. Last but not least, finished with the work, the settlement gathers around its glowing center. Armed with language, the nominated survivor aptly names the glowing center of their home, the Lantern Horde. This thing over here. The settlement gains the Lantern Horde settlement location. Search the large settlement location cards for the Lantern Horde and place it face up in your play area. The Lantern Horde is the source of all innovations and further locations the settlement will develop. The nominated survivor sits in front of the Lantern Horde in awe and gains +1 understanding. They must skip the next hunt phase as they ponder the meaning of existence. Check off the skip the next hunt box on the survivor's record sheet. They cannot be selected as a departing survivor this phase. Then return to the first story to complete the settlement phase. Okay. So let's go back. Okay. So Zachary will gain +1 understanding. And he is forced to skip the next hunt. Okay. We have 4 endeavors, which is a resource we can use for something, but let's take a look at the Lantern Horde. Firstly, to get the Lantern Horde, you'd have to go into the box, go to its back, the settlement locations, and look for the Lantern Horde and grab it out. But the automated setup has already done that for us. So here we are. What can we do? We can spend 1 endeavor, 1 bone, 1 organ, 1 hide to innovate, which is once per settlement phase you can spend those resources, draw 2 innovation cards from this innovation deck, keep 1 and return the other to the deck. That's how you build out your deck and gain more innovations. Other things we can do with endeavor is we could spend 1 to build a bonesmith, 1 to build a skinnery, 1 to build an organ grinder, and 1 for shared experience, which requires language and innovation that we do have. The shared experience over here says, nominate a survivor that has 2 or more hunt XP than yourself. They describe the illuminating details of their desired death. If you are not deaf, gain 1 hunt XP from their story. If the nominated survivor has a shattered jaw, instead gain 1 insanity. So this is a way to give other survivors hunt XP and insanity, but we don't have anyone that has 2 or more hunt XP than another survivor at the moment. So our options are innovating, creating a bonesmith, creating a skinnery, or creating an organ grinder. Cool. So on the first year, I always like to spend 3 endeavors. Maybe I'll just flip them, that might be easier. To create the 3 different locations, which I will do now. Those are the skinnery, organ grinder, and barber surgeon. Sorry, not barber surgeon, bonesmith. So these are the 3 locations. Hitting R to rotate. So you might be wondering how the KD sim tracks the automation of the settlement phase. Well, it's based off the innovations that are tracked here and the settlement locations that are tracked here. Oh, I also forgot to tick the white line query, but it's already been done automatically at the start. So if you tick bonesmith, skinnery, and organ grinder, the next time that we try and use the settlement phase functionality, it will remember that we have them already unlocked and it will pull them out for you automatically, which is actually really nice. Okay. I might have skipped the step straight to develop, but after the update death count, where no one is dead, I forgot to check the milestone story events. Our milestone story events are found here. So just make sure to check these every time you're going through the settlement. You have the first time a child is born, population reaches 15, population reaches 0, first time a death is counted, is updated, and the first time the settlement has 5 innovations. This time around we hit nothing, so that's fine. Okay. I am gonna go ahead and grab these resources. Put them here for ease. Okay. Now let's see what we can create. Okay. With those 3 new locations crafted, we have a skinnery, which is its main function is to be able to create armor, namely the rawhide set, which is made up of those 5 armor pieces. We can create bandages, which is a way of curing bleed tokens, which I think I described in the last video is the alternate condition for your survivors dying. And a couple of other gear that requires some innovations we don't have at the moment. From the organ grinder, there's a lot of accessories or items that you can create that will buff your survivors. These include stone noses that give you survival insanity, Equal Salve, which gives you survival. Monster Grease, that gives you evasion. Dry Campus, which gives you survival and a way to prevent severe injuries. Lucky Charm, which gives you survivor's luck. And Monster Tooth Necklace, which requires heat, which is something you gain from an innovation, but it also buffs your survivor's strength. It also has an innovation ability. You can spend an endeavor ability where you can spend one endeavor to perform augury, which is roll 1d10. The survivor's endeavor to glean the meaning of existence. They roll on the table, add 1 to your roll result if your understanding is 3 or higher. And from this you can gain understanding, gain survival, and perform intimacy, which is how you gain population. Okay, and the last one is Bonesmith, which is where you can create the first weapons. They're made out of bone. You can also create a skull helm and a pickaxe and a sickle, but those require ammonia, and they allow you to do special hunt events. You can also spend an endeavor on each of these locations to create the next location in the line, being the leather worker, barber surgeon, and weapon crafter, which, as you can imagine, are just upgraded versions of the last one, so they provide the same kind of thing: armor, items, and weapons. Okay, so at the moment I am looking at having 2 hide, 3 hide, 2 bone, 4 hide, 1 organ. So we're looking at 1 organ, 2 hides, 1 organ, 4 bones, 4 hides, which is actually a nice amount. I might even consider endeavoring. Sometimes I don't like to endeavor during the first Lantern year because it makes the first showdown harder in a way. Because you really want to make some weapons to be able to take down the higher toughness of the first White Lion. So endeavoring at the start isn't always a good idea, but I think this time around it might be okay. I'm definitely gonna want to have some weapons starting out, so I'm gonna go for a bone dart, which costs 1 bone. So let me go grab those locations. So what do I need? Bonesmith? Skinnery, organ grinder. Skinnery. Yep. So grab all of those out. Skinnery. Bonesmith and organ grinder. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and spend 1 bit. Oops, wrong one. Grab myself a bone dart. Like to have 2 weapons, I think, so I think I'll go for a bone blade, which costs 1 bone. And then probably some armor is good here, so I'm gonna spend 2 of these. One hide each. I'm gonna make some. Don't know what the chest piece is called. I'll make 1 headband and 1 vest. They cost 1 hide each, as you can see. The headband has 1 hide cost and so does the vest. Okay. And then I think I will innovate. Which costs these 3. And Grey Cat Bones. I want to keep the Lion Claw because there's some weapons that we can make potentially next year. Okay. And now cast the last endeavor, and we will now innovate. So when you innovate, you need to shuffle the deck and draw 2. So our options are Symposium and Ammonia. Okay, this is a great start. So Symposium, survival limit +1. Whenever a survivor innovates, they draw an additional 2 cards to choose from. And Ammonia is a pungent bilious substance ideal for crafting leather and treating wounds. The punishing survivors gain +1 survival. So I think for me, this is a no-brainer. You should always go for Symposium if you pull it early, just because it gains more value the earlier you get it. So I'm going to choose Symposium. Oops. I'm going to put that here. Oh, we need to add this to a sheet. So a neat trick that you can do is you can grab these, hover them over. Oh, sorry. I should now explain the ghost pen. So with this ghost pen, this is a cool part of the automation. If you open it, oh, you can read the info here actually. If it's placed on the table with the cap removed, the pen can record various things onto the specific record sheets. All you have to do is hover the card over the sheet. I'm going to tick this haste animation to skip the very slow animation. It's pretty cool, so check it out yourself. But if I grab Symposium, hover it over, it says assigning, and there you go. It's automatically written here. You can also click on it anytime to have a preview, which is actually really cool. So next time we set up the settlement phase, it'll automatically, what's the word? It'll know to pull out Symposium as well for the innovations. So I'm gonna grab this, and it'll build out this innovation deck as well for you. Once that is done, I'm going to increase the survival limit because of Symposium. We're now at 3. And then I think I will save the rest. So after the develop step, you go to prepare departing survivors, which is when you choose your survivors. Any resource that you spend is archived, which means it's sent back to the box. Cool. I'm gonna grab these. Alright, so let's take a look at these gear cards because we have some new key rules. The Bone Blade has the frail gear keyword, which means the frail special gear rule. I should get the terminology right. Anything that appears at the bottom of the gear is called a special gear rule. Anything at the top is called a gear keyword. So keywords would be like weapon, melee, sword, bone, and special rules would be like frail. And frail is when you attempt to wound a super dense location, this weapon breaks. Archive this card at the end of the attack. So we haven't seen any yet, but I'm sure it'll come up soon. This little red thing on the left here is an affinity, which is used to build certain gear. So for an example, if I take this rawhide headband and connect it in this formation on the gear sheet, you can see we gain 1 blue affinity. If I then attach a bone blade, we also gain 1 red affinity. So some gears like this rawhide headband will have the affinity icon. They come in 2 forms, either a blue square or a blue puzzle piece. A puzzle piece meaning that you need to have it attached to this one. If it was just a regular blue piece, that means as long as you have any blue affinities, it would activate. But the puzzle piece means it needs to be attached to the current gear card to activate. So in this formation, we can activate the rawhide headband, which we can spend a lightning symbol, means activation, which is the same symbol we're using to attack with a weapon. We can reveal the top 2 AI, place them back on top of the deck in any order, which is nice for scouting the monster's next attack. We also have a rawhide vest, which gives us +1 evasion since we have fulfilled the activation requirement of 1 red and 1 blue. Cool. I'll grab this and assign it to a random survivor. And now we need to replace Zachary and Urza. Sorry, just Zachary, because he is skipping the next hunt. So I will do that. Firstly, I'm going to right click and this gear grid and unassign the sheet and the survivor. I'm going to move this up here. I am also going to be getting rid of Lucy, who has -1 strength, and I really want to use her because of that reason. So, gonna unassign. I'm going to move her up here. So since we took out Zachary and Lucy, I'm going to replace them with a male and a female. So like so. And I guess we need to name them. So I'm going to go with the theme of light this time around and lanterns. So I'll name the male Bright. He gets 1 survival for being named. And I'll name the female Lumine. She also gets 1. And I think that is probably it. For departing survivors, I believe that's when you apply armor. Let me just check that real quickly. If you plan to continue, you choose a monster from the quarry list on the settlement sheet. So the only one right now is a white lion, so I'm going to choose a white lion. Any eligible returning survivors may be departing. So now is when you choose your gear and award any bonuses from gear and innovations. Okay, so you know what? Let's go ahead and do that. We're gonna get 1 armor to the cloth, head, and vest and chest. Everyone else gets 1 waist armor. Yep. Okay, that should be it. Last but not least, record and archive resources. So any unspent resources and unworn gear gets put back into their respective deck. Oops. Sometimes the controls are a bit finicky. So we're going to record and archive. To record, we can hover over the sheet, I believe. Or maybe you can't. You know what? I thought you would be able to. Sorry, it would be on the other side of the sheet, right? Yep, there you go. So these gear are in our storage, and then they go back to the monsters deck. Cool. That's nice. Oh, you can also have gear storage, so I should probably do that. We have 4 founding stones. 4 cloth. Rawhide headband. Rawhide vest. Bone blade. Bone darts. I wonder if you can record the population. I actually haven't tried that. No, it does not look like it. But this might be saved elsewhere. I think might be saved by the stone cloud. Okay. So actually, I want to try that. I'm gonna pull out the stone cloud, which we opened in the first episode. This is meant to be used for saving your settlement. So let's try dropping this into there. So the settlement successfully uploaded to the stone cloud. We can drop our survivors in there. Oh. Okay, you can't stack these together, I guess. Okay, they've all been uploaded to the cloud. This is how you save campaigns in case you want to run multiple campaigns at the same time. So open it up. Okay, we're going to retrieve our Lux campaign. And there you go, the population has updated. Oh, it even shows you the nodes. That's actually really cool. So, okay. Maybe I'll put this here. Grab out our survivors. We're using, I believe Alistair, Lumine, Bright, and Urza. Lumine. Right. Urza. Okay, before I wrap this episode up, I guess I want to assign them to the sheets, no? So Urza is still Urza. Alistair is still Alistair. Then we have Bright and Lumine. Actually gonna get off from the table for this. Show you how to grab other survivors. You can move over here, access this, and do we have intimacy male? I want to use him. Oh, we do. So we have intimacy male. I'm gonna use him, and we're gonna need a female for Lumine. We'll just use one of the unarmored survivors. I'm gonna grab the white line as well. Oh no, we can set up a hunt phase from the sheet, so we don't need to do that. Okay, press I to open the inventory. Grab the intimacy male, the female unarmored, and I'm gonna grab Lucy and Zachary back to my inventory. And I'm gonna assign this, so you can see that. Oh, female unarmored, wrong one. Unassign. And there you go. That's how you add different survivors. So Lumine is now the female unarmored, and Bright is the intimacy male. Okay, cool. And I think that wraps it up for the settlement phase. Next up, we'll go run through the hunt phase. Thanks, guys.